This is the Lesson 3.3 Independent Practice, and we are on page 63. Try these problems to the best of your ability, and when you need a hint or help, you can watch the video to get the help that you need. Number 22. Rosa and Albert receive the same amount of allowance each week. The table shows what part of their allowance they spent on video games and pizza. Question A reads, who spent more of their allowance on video games? Write an inequality to compare the portion spent on video games. So we're going to do two things. We're going to say who spent more on video games, and we're going to write an inequality. Alright, so video games is just this column right here, so we're going to just ignore pizza for now. And we're going to notice that Rosa spent 0.4 and Albert spent 1/2. It's really hard to compare 0.4 and 1/2 unless we convert 0.4 into a fraction or 1/2 into a decimal. And probably the faster way to do this is just to say that 1/2 is equal to 0.5. That's a little messy because I wrote it on the line there, so I'm going to fix that up a little bit. That's 0.5. And now it's pretty easy to compare because we've got a 4 in the tens place and a 5 in the tens place, and 5 is greater than 4. So we can go to our answer, and we can state that it's going to be Albert. The first part of the question says, who is it? And then write an inequality. And the inequality is the deal where we write the two numbers, like Albert's number is 1/2, and Rosa's number is 0.4. And the inequality symbol that makes the statement true is the greater than sign. The answer to this question is Albert because 1/2 is greater than 1/4. Alright, I need to scroll up a little bit so we can see the rest of the question. I can rewrite that for A here. There, now we can see it all. So we've got Albert because 1/2 is greater than 0.4. Okay, question B. Who spent more of their allowance on pizza? Write an inequality to compare the portion spent on pizza. So we've got the pizza. We've got 0 and 25/100, and we've got 2/5. Do you remember 2/5? If you don't have this one memorized yet, you need to go back to page 59 and study 2/5. 2/5 is equal to 0.4. This is a good chance to remind you that it's hard to compare something that's in the tens place to something that's in the hundredths place. So what we do to make it seem more fair is we annex a 0 and we make it to the hundredths place. Now we've got 0 and 40/100 compared to 0 and 25/100. 0 and 40/100 is greater. So the answer is Rosa, because Rosa is 0 and 40/100. And then we write the inequality, and that's going to be 2/5 is greater than 0 and 25/100. Alright, question C. Draw conclusions. Who spent the greater part of their total allowance, and how do you know? So what this is asking you to do is to combine how much they spent. For example, if you combine Albert's, it would be 1/2 plus 25/100. And if you combine Rosa's, it would be 0 and 4/10 plus 2/5. In order to combine those, though, you really need to make those conversions. So 1/2 is going to be 0.5 or 0.50. So if you add up Albert's, it'd be 0.50 plus 0.25, and that's like adding money. 50 cents and 25 cents is 75 cents. And if you add up Rosa's, Rosa has 0.4 here, and then we also know that this is actually also 0.4. 0.4 plus 0.4, that's 0.8, which is the same thing as 0.80. So Rosa spent 0 and 8/10 or 80/100. Albert spent 75/100. 80 is clearly larger. So who spent the the greater part of their total? I'm going to type this answer. Rosa, because she spent 0 and 8 or 80/100. It could be 8/10 or 80/100, so it's the same thing. And Albert spent 0 and 75. Now, what I like about this answer is it's a typed answer, but I also, here's kind of what my favorite thing, I also kind of showed my work. So if you show your work off to the margin, it's a really good explanation. Okay? Alright, cool. Let's move down to the bottom of the page. You're good on number 22 now. Okay, we got 23. I think we can see the whole thing. A group of friends is collecting aluminum for a recycling drive. Each person who donates at least 4 and 2,500 pounds of aluminum receives a free movie coupon. That's going to come into play later. Like when we get down to B, we'll need to reread that part of the question. The weight of each person's donations is shown in the table. And A says, order the weights of the donations from least to greatest. Now this looks kind of complicated, but I want to show you how it's not as bad as you might think. For example, is this going to be complicated to compare Brenda and Jim? Brenda had a little more than 4 pounds and Jim had a little more than 6 pounds. Now if you want to say, yeah, well, this 6 and 1/6, that looks complicated. Well, 6 is more than 4. So we're going to keep that kind of stuff in mind before we make all these complicated conversions. One thing we need to do is convert this into a mixed number. 4 goes into 15 3 times with 3 left over. So this one's 3 3/4, and I'm just going to double check that. 4 times 3 is 12, plus 3 is 15. So I'm going to get rid of that one. We've got 4 3/8, 3 3/4. So we're going to order them from greatest to least. Greatest is biggest. So the greatest number here. So we've got 4 pounds, 5, 6, 3, and 4. What's the biggest number there? It's 6. So we don't even need to convert that. It's the greatest. It's the greatest weight, 6 and 1/6, comma. So we're done with this one. I can erase my marks later. And then we've got 5 out of all my whole numbers. Let's just highlight my whole numbers here. We've got 4, 5. I already did 6, 3, and 4. My next biggest whole number is 5.5. And now I've got 4 and 4, and I just need to figure out which one's bigger. What's bigger, 4.3 or 4 3/8? And that's kind of complicated, so I'm going to use a calculator here. I don't use a calculator very often, but I'm going to use it for this one. What I need to do here is I need to divide 3 divided by 8 to figure out what that is as a decimal. So watch how I do this. If I do 3 divided by 8, I get 0.375. So check this out. This is actually equal to, see this right here? 4.375. And this one's only 4.3. So 4.375 is bigger. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to put 4 3/8 next. And then 4.3. And then the last one is 3 3/4, which I'm going to actually write. It's kind of annoying, but I'm going to write it as 15/4. Like I said, most of these were easy because 6 is bigger than 5. The only ones I really had to compute were 4 and 4. And then this one we already calculated was 3. So I'm going to undo those highlights real quick. There we go. Now what I need to do is like all these marks I made right here, I need to get rid of that because I'm going to reuse some of that stuff for question B. And I don't mind leaving my shown work there. That's not a bad idea. Okay, we are on question B. Which of the friends will receive a free movie coupon and which will not? So remember that to get a free movie coupon, you had to donate at least 4.25 pounds. So did, the first weight right here, that was Jim. Did Jim, is that more than 4.25? Of course, Jim gets a free movie coupon. What about 5.5? Is that more than 4.25? It is. So Claire gets a movie coupon. 4 3/8, is that going to be more than 4.25? Remember what 4 3/8 is. We can look at it over here. That's 4.375. Is that more than 4.25? It is. Not by much, but it is. So this person, 4 3/8, Peter, gets a free movie coupon. How about this one, 4.3? Do they get a free movie coupon? Some people would say no, but let's go ahead and think about it this way. Is 4.3 greater than 4.25? And it is, because if you annex a 0 here, 30 is greater than 25. So barely, but actually it does count. 4.30 is bigger than 4.25. So Brenda gets a free movie coupon. And there's only one person left. It's Micah. Remember what Micah's value was. Micah's was 3 3/4. Is 3 3/4 greater than 4.25? Let's think about it this way. 3 3/4 or 4.25, which is greater? Well, actually, clearly 4 is a bigger whole number than 3, and so this is less than, and you have to donate more than 4.25. So I'm going to change this to a semicolon right here. So which of the friends will receive a free movie coupon? Jim, Claire, Peter, and Brenda. Which will not? I'm going to write Micah does not. I know that's just a tiny bit messy with all my work shown, but we do that. We write our work in the margins, and it's not a big deal. All right. Would the person with the smallest donation, who was that, by the way? That was Micah, win a movie coupon if he or she had collected a ½ pound more of aluminum? And explain. So basically, we get to take Micah's donation and add ½ pound. So Micah's donation was 3 3/4. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to convert that to a decimal, because that's a pretty easy one. That didn't take much thought. The whole number is the whole number. Now I just need to think about 3/4. Do you guys remember 3/4 of a dollar is 75 cents? So Micah's donation was 3.75. And now we're going to add this ½ pound. How much is ½ pound? It's 0 and 50. 0.5 or 0.50. Now I'm simply going to add those up. 375. That's a messy 3. And 0 and 50. I'm going to add those up and I get 5, I get 12, and I get 4, and the decimal comes straight down. I get 4 25/100ths. And is 4 25/100ths enough to get a free movie coupon? And the answer is yes. It says explain. I kind of showed my work, but I'm just going to write yes because 3 3/4 plus 1/2 equals 4 25/100ths. I'm going to kind of put a box around this as like a final solid answer there. Okay, great job. You are done with page 63.